Greetings, fellow travellers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we, as always, view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am Captain Frodo, and I will be your host and gracious guide along the way. And it's a pleasure to have you back with me here for this it feels to me rather special conversation. As you will hear as we come into the beginning of this, it starts rather abruptly, and that is because a windswept day before I'd moved into this house that I have bought, and we were living overlooking the ocean, right so close to the ocean that I could smell the salt. I was sitting there working actually on, I was writing, and I was writing on either it was the very end of what was the second season, because this is a while ago, or it was that I was writing on the coming season on Play as the Origin of Showmanship. Either way, as I was writing, all of a sudden I got a little message from Garreth Bjaaland, who I believe had just finished doing a show or something. Anyway, he had a drink, and he was calling me just to catch up on some thoughts that he had in regards to the ingredients of comedy. And he had also just been visiting the Australian Circus Festival, which is a real sort of a meeting of the tribe of the Australian circus people. And the pandemic had just happened, and it was the first festival that was back up again in Mullumbimby, where I have a house close by in Ocean Shores. And it's a bit of a spiritual home. Back in the early 2000s, the Happy Sideshow, the show that I was in from early 2003, for almost 5 years, we did a storming season up there in the first iteration of the Australian Circus Festival, when it was still run by the godfather of Australian circus, Tony Rook, as far as I remember. And there in Circus Sunrise tent, the Happy Sideshow did a show, and it was the first time when our show really met the circus community at large, and it was a real important part of integrating me fully into the wider Australian circus community, I felt, showcasing what we had developed. And this festival has left him emotional, and it leaves me emotional as we are contemplating it towards the end of today's episode. I've divided it up into two, as usual. As we go in, we start sort of straight off, because there's been a time when he called, first texted, and then I texted back, and I called him immediately, sort of going, "No, this has got. I want to hear this properly." And after sorting out our sound issues, we're just letting the recording run, and what I find is this: we have a looseness in this conversation where we don't stick so strictly to a script, that I found quite enjoyable when listening back to it. So, with all that said, let's jump straight into the world of ideas with Garreth Bjaaland. If you're telling a story that's just awful, and your motive is to make other people feel awful, then I don't know the value of it, or whether that is the kind of artwork that I at least then would participate in.
Yeah, and that is a very interesting point, actually, of whether it's worth putting people through that. And there was a conversation about that we had the other night with a few performers, was if you end a show on a low note, is that a bad thing for the performer and the audience? Like, to be a performer, it's unsustainable to deliver that. Yeah, another good reason that everything you do should be surrounded by love and positivity.
Yeah, because you do have to deal with that. And like, if it's an actual real note, then it's like, because if you, so that's like, because it is, of course, it's like that kind of art or that kind of show or whatever, that kind of human activity could be done. But there is this thing of just when you go just positive or negative, and I call that, what is the obligation of the showman? And I say that the showman's obligation is to ultimately, when you boil it all down, to not make it a big deal out of it or a big thing out of it, is just that you need to leave the people better off after the encounter with you. As in better off, meaning that, and I use the word enriched, it's that they have given you their time and attention. And what you have done with that time and attention is to stimulate them emotionally, intellectually, or in any kind of way. And that stimulation need to have an overall sum of being experienced as positive. Whilst I love horror movies and went through this period of my life where these extreme splatter movies or whatever, I find it really fun. But I am interested in it because it's exploring some field. But there's at no point I would like any of these things to happen to me or anyone that I love. It is not a real thing. It's not like, so there is something in there where you can still find it through these extreme examples of it or so. But there are movies that I know of now that I just don't think I am interested in watching or so, that I've just heard about these. They're like, that's just like where you just go, I don't know whether this has any value for me or any need for me to see these things. Maybe if I was a different person and I was a young person then maybe I would be interested in it. But there might be but I don't know.
I mean, it comes a little bit down to, and we explore this concept a little bit in the show that I do with Trent and Rachel, of like when you listen to sad music, does it make you feel better? Or should you listen to happy music when you feel sad? And it's a bit of both. But I think at the end, like, you want to listen to some sad music for a while, but at some point you probably want to start listening to happy music again.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's important to experience it, and I feel like that's actually what good clowning or a good show, or, you know, you actually do go through a range of emotions.
Absolutely, yeah. I find it too. I think it's like if you're just going to be a stand-up comedian, even stand-up comedians are breaking out of this now, though. But I kind of the concept of a comedian will do a laugh count. How many laughs? If I am a comedian, then that means I need to make you laugh. How many times do you laugh in my act? My act is 5 minutes. They laugh 5 times. Okay, that's one joke a minute. Can I make them laugh at 3 times during each setup, and all of a sudden you've tripled or whatever your laugh count, which is a good thing. But for us, with the medium of circus, I think it's just reactions we're after, emotional connections. It can be funny, it can be infuriating, it can be silly, it can be impressive, it can be all those. But so that when you're making your act, you can go, any of these modes of connection are valid and valuable, and that's what I would be counting. Points of interaction as opposed to laugh count, or like, and I think it's in that territory that you were describing now.
Yeah, that's right. But a range of dynamic emotions.
Range of emotions, and I find. I mean,
you can make people laugh. Imagine if you could make people laugh 6 times a minute and cry 6 times a minute. Yeah.
There you go.
Whatever. Every 5 minutes, that would be a wild ride, and they kind of magnify each other.
I think so too, and then they are also interesting when you mix them. I just was on a conversation with another person who's creating an act or a show, and from a circus school in Holland, and I was just talking about, because he does kind of clowny kind of stuff, or in the domain, the region that you and me do, and I was just talking about this mix of emotion that I think is particularly interesting for clowns or whatever, of doing something which is stupid but that's beautiful at the same time, and this combination of beauty and stupidity, or profound and stupid, that those things are really, that's a really interesting combination of emotions for me. That gets people in and touches them, and that's when they're like, they love it. That I think too. Then it goes into this thing of love, and you can't that you can place distance between yourself and something difficult with comedy, but then comedy also has this potential of redemption or so, that when we have laughed at something,
I mean, I can't remember exactly which movie it is, but it's kind of like the end of Labyrinth with, David Bowie and all that. When he says, "You have no power of me," and that power that somebody has of you, or like you can't, if you're genuinely laughing at something, you can't quite be afraid of it anymore.
So that's so brilliant. That is so brilliant, isn't it? Because it's such a brilliant thing. That's why it makes you happier and healthier, because it really, and that's why I think that everything should be done with a spirit of love and positivity, because I'd rather laugh in the face of death and be Spike Milligan, who has, the story about Spike Milligan's gravestone?
No, I don't know that, but I'd love to hear it.
Spike, Spike Milligan, don't
you?
Yeah,
from the Goon Show and Peter Sellers and those guys.
Yeah. On his gravestone, he has written, "I told you I was sick."
Yeah.
I'd much rather be like that than like I don't know, whatever the opposite of that is.
Yeah. And I think it's I found that I was like, there was a period in my life a bunch of years ago where I was really interested in like the existentialists in Sartre and in Camus and all of that. And Camus is obviously talking a lot about the absurdity of life and how the only important question is whether or not, philosophical question is whether or not to commit suicide. And he does kind of end up coming around to this thing that he called in his book that is called L'Homme Revolte, which is like, it's like the revolutionary man or so. And that act of revolution is to stand against the fact of the futility of life, that no matter what you do in life, at some point you're going to die, and then it's all have going to been in vain anyway, because you can't bring it along with you or whatever. I sort of go, well, that somehow makes sense but only on a shallow level if you think only of yourself. But if you think in a wider scope here of the other people that you are with, and the others, they're going to be living with what you did in a way. So, and that meaning that you put into it, going against all those other things of going, maybe these things are completely meaningless in themselves, but as they interact with me, they are not anymore. So therefore I am sort of participating in the creation of the meaning of these things. And that's that.
I love that. It's almost like the butterfly effect or something.
Yeah, that's right. And it's in amplification.
But I also believe in the futility of life, because it helps me move forward within it, bizarrely.
Yeah. Hang on, my Miranda just called home.
Yeah.
So I think, getting back to it. So laughing in the face of it or whatever, having a positive attitude towards it or seeing a way out of it, I think absolutely. That's also like, then in a sense, what I see with the performers or the showman's obligation is to leave the world a little bit better off, as in leaving the audience, leaving the environment that you're in and the people a little bit better off, with the ability to laugh at something that they thought was difficult from before, or even just a cathartic experience of laughing in the moment or sharing it with you there and then and having a great time, so that when you then come back again, some of it, even on just the most shallow level, is like, well, when I laugh this hard, it's like people, then that they are important. And in this day and age, with the pandemic having happened and the recession in fully in place and the war in Ukraine and Europe being pulled in, and like I was at this circus school and in Stockholm the other day, and one of the students there asked me, like, going, well, is it can we still do circus in this time that we have now? And I'm just like sounding, yes, of course we can. In fact, it is almost more important now than
200%.
Yeah, it's to be able to, and I said something which comes from some French song that I heard one time or whatever, but it was this thing that they will be used they will be used for, I have paraphrased it into my own thing, but they will be used for show people like us also after the atomic bomb. These things that we are dealing with goes below the threshold of whether we are at war or whether we are at one thing or the other. And I remember this story that Nalle, this Swedish clown teacher and whatever, he wrote a book called The Clown Manifesto, and in there he told this story of how he was doing the hanky silk disappearing thing, and he was one of the people who started the Clowns Without Borders in Sweden. In Sweden, the chapter of Sweden. So he was doing this in some, I can't remember which country it was, but it was a refugee camp where it is an actual camp where people are in tents or whatever. And that was like this girl and everything that you don't want to happen to someone you love had happened to this person, and he was asking himself those questions. Here I am with this small, stupid little suitcase full of clown gags and tricks and all of that. And then to see these kids or young women, or in that case, that young woman, just completely lose herself in this thing and thanking him for it or whatever, and the people around it. And then you go, this is why we do it. It's for that thing to transcend all that pain and go all that. And it hasn't healed her. It hasn't made her fixed it. There's no sort of happy ending, but it just reminds you that there's, that there's good in the world, or that there are things, worth fighting for, or whatever it is that you need when you are in those dark places.
Well, I think it's John Cleese I heard recently on some clip on YouTube saying, when people are laughing, they're happier and healthier than they'll ever be. And it's so true. They know now, even like on a scientific level, that laughter makes you happier. And the only true evil in the world, I think, there's not a lot of people actually who sit behind the scenes rubbing their hands together, giggling maniacally, thinking about what they're going to do to hurt other people. Those people either think they're doing the right thing, or they've had something really bad done to them and they feel very angry. And the only way forward for them is actually through some sort of positive experience as well.
That's an interesting
the only
point.
way maybe it might be hard for them, and it might take something very specific, but it seems like it is the only logical way forward.
It's true. And it's like, it's either that they think that they're doing the good thing. That's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That whatever it is that they do, they didn't do it because they, like in Australia, they didn't take the children away from people because they wanted to be evil. Well, at least I don't like, and it's those terrible things that have been done. But then when you but that was like, it is just an evil, and you can't see now how they did it. But you But then and then you look at the World War, and you look at all these things that have been done. I mean, it's sometimes it is hard, but because there's the other kind of aspect too that happens in things of genocide. This got really dark, but that in genocide part
dial back to that shit. Like you reference that stuff in comedy reasonly regularly, indirectly.
The worst case scenario.
And very funny.
It's interesting. It's that thing of like anything. Like you can always find comedy by just going to the extreme ends of the spectrum. It's like you coming home, and then you just go, everything is totally normal. Then it's not a story, but everything is absolutely terrible, or everything is absolutely amazing. Those ends where it's absolutely the best possible, or absolutely the worst, or whatever. Just going to the extreme of whatever it is that your situation. good and bad, and then comedy can emerge from that. But yeah, if you're looking at like genocide, another aspect, and I don't know how that fits in, but it is to make the whomever it is that you are attacking, to make them somehow not part of even being human or whatever, and that this is the moss in the lawn. You just get rid of the moss, and then we have the perfect lawn, and everything is good or whatever. So you somehow make that thing into the other, or you make it into something so different that it's only negative or whatever, which is, I don't know exactly how that sort of fits in with this, but that's this where you, because it is this sort of cognitive dissonance. They know that it's another person, but you are somehow seeing that thing as, oh, they are on the other side of the fence, they are the enemy, and therefore we can. It's what war is, isn't it? It's like the rules of war. You can kill people, and it's okay, but there's limits to what you are allowed to do, or whatever.
Well, yeah, we were talking about at dinner actually a bit about slapstick in its most raw form, and probably the hardest way to do it, where one person hits another person or causes them some sort of discomfort.
Yeah.
I was saying it's only funny, just like you're saying, at either end of the spectrum, when the person either really deserves it or if they really don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Is also funny.
Yeah.
It's not in the middle. In the middle, not so much.
Yeah. If you're It's right.
A weird thing.
But it is also like in this elevation or lowering of it, and moving it away from reality, you move into another space, which is the kind of imaginal space, or whatever you want to call it, and you now know that it isn't real, yet it is in this imaginal space that poetry and novels and movies and art exists. And we know that even though a poem is a very artificial, made by humans for humans thing or process or phenomena, it's somehow these things, art and literature, can express truth even more so, exactly because they aren't quite real. So they are taking away the details of the everyday life, and you get to the core of something or whatever. So maybe comedy, the slapstick of it is that as well. As soon as you move it out of, it's not just you're watching a dispute, or like domestic dispute, a man is beating his wife or whatever, but you're watching something else now. And then once you say, okay, this is okay. And I had that trouble when I first started doing street shows. So when I was doing said, and now I'm going to do this location, I wasn't skilled enough and funny enough to allow to give them the confidence that this was going to be a pleasurable experience. So people would take their kids away when I did it, or like they go, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Play it like a freak show. Look how crazy this is. And then they go, yeah, this is crazy. We're going to go now. This is awkward.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So then by getting funnier and by getting better at connecting with the audience, then they would allow me to go much further or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
Finding that way of stepping outside, like it's going, somehow we laugh at Keaton when he gets a brick in the head, whilst most of the time that is not funny, or like it needs to, in that case, it's like when somebody falls over, maybe you laugh immediately, but then you also judge, did it go good or bad? And if they get back up again or whatever and hurt their bum, then then that's just funny. But if you really see the pain, then somehow the funny goes away or whatever.
Yeah. I think so. It's funnier if they. It's just like if. It's only good if they're high status or for some absurd reason. The one I struggle to understand more, but I think it's got something to do with absurdity, is like the Monty Python-esque thing of a giant weight landing on an old lady's head.
Yeah,
it is very, very funny, and it's the same as like, I don't know, like pushing someone in a wheelchair down a very steep hill. This is something that would never happen in real life, but if you're allowed to laugh at it, is very funny. If it's, I think it's possibly taboo. It starts to that's the one I should have put in my circles there. I think there is 7 on the inside.
Yeah.
And there's one because the thing I haven't covered there really at all. Because I was trying to boil them down even further, and then each one of them then can have more in it, so you sort of get a little bit more bang for your buck overall. Because there's like families, you know what I mean? Like
that they belong together.
Ingredients. Like something like slapstick. I realised is this huge over-encompassing thing. That's like there can be verbal slapstick, there can be thought slapstick, there can be story slapstick, or there can be physical slapstick.
Yeah,
they're all the thing that we laugh at.
Has like the has Schadenfreude or whatever is one of those kind of like that we talked about, that as one of those aspects, and you can have that in even the way that rappers sort of diss each other, where you have this verbal battle and when one person can own up the other one and just annihilate them by saying rude things about them, how clever you were in saying that can be both funny and cathartic or whatever. So that's in a way that is like a sort of battle too, or like, I don't know, is that also slapstick, this kind of?
What is that one? I think that one, I don't know. I feel like with rappers actually, and I've considered this for a while, what the go with rap is, but I think they actually engage in a type of weird satire.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me, hip hop, they're taking the piss out of themselves a lot of the time, and it is also like the second egg in that drawing, truth and reality.
Yeah,
but they take this out of it a little bit as well. And I suppose it is a form of slapstick, like insult. It's one thing I haven't considered much is like the modern sort of comedy tradition of the burn.
Yeah, the roasting or whatever. That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay, now you're unlocking something there. I see some great overlap there, like in that. But like, where does that belong in this?
Yeah, I wonder. This is the challenge I come up with. This idea is I keep hitting a joke and going, oh shit, yeah, which one's that? I'll have to think about that for a while.
Yeah.
But usually it fits into one. Like it probably depends on the structure of the insult, but I suppose you're right. Like insults are a type of slapstick, but then like within that you'll have like one of the other ingredients, like surprise or change of context. I think it also isn't in there and is a major one.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get them all to start with S for a little while.
Oh yeah, interesting. I see a bunch of them are there. There's just just S in brackets, playfulness.
Yeah.
Just
playfulness. Yeah.
There is this place in Holland. I don't know if you've done the touring there, but there's a place there that's called Hertogenbusch. So it's called Hertogenbusch or whatever, but it's got this S on the front of it.
That's a star.
Yeah, but maybe it's
pretty good.
But it's almost like I was thinking. The slapstick thing, thinking of that movie, the 8th Mile, the movie with Eminem in it, and they're in one of those. Hey,
I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, no, I just watched it again sort of recently because I saw a sort of YouTube clip at some point where someone was just talking about there's a song in that one called "Seize the Moment," or I can't remember what it's called actually. But there's a song that went with that one, and some guy just analyzed the kind of lyrical content and the incredibly complex rhyme structure of that song, of how it half rhymes and it alliterates as in rhyming on the first letter and it rhymes at the last letter, and it's just going and showing how incredibly complex that rap is. Anyway, then I watched that movie, and in the end of that thing, like, one of the guys, so it's this weird anyway, it's like one of the rappers who he battles, when Eminem gets to go first, he kind of starts, because after they've been dissing each other, then he sort of said, then so Eminem keeps being put down, and then when he does his rap, then he kind of says all those things, and then going, yeah, I'm white, and yes, I live with my mom in a trailer, and yes, my dad is a drunk, and yes, and I can't hold down a job, and yes, I'm the only white guy in this club and whatever, and that he's, so he takes all those things that the other person would have or could have attacked him at, and he owns them, and he going, and still I am here, and I'm beating you on your own game, or so, whatever. Can't remember I'm not the rapper.
Yeah.
But then that's just like that. It's like that relationship that happens between the white-faced clown and the August clown, or whatever. Like that, the white face is slapping the little one, and then somehow the little one wins anyway, and it is by not having that being, he's not caring about his own appearance, so he doesn't need to feel high status, and because of that he has all these other things at his disposal, and maybe that there is a sort of structural or pattern-like similarity between the dissing of those and the way you can own it or take it or whatever, that is a kind of slapstick back and forth.
I think, because I only added this one in today, which is story.
Yeah. I didn't remember. I thought it was like just a synthesization of something.
It's like irony almost fits into story. Like a good story has a bit of irony, and it has a bit of synchronicity.
Yeah. And it's like...
So story, my plan is now is to take those inner six, I think, and then make them into separate eggs and put a whole lot of things inside each of them. Because, like they're all very, very large, encompassing categories still. Yeah,
I mean, the way you need to write it down as in a book format or whatever, and first, or the way I have done it with this, what I'm writing on, it's like try to give a little bit of an overview, and that's how sort of textbooks sort of work. Like give an overview of the territory that you're about to embark on, and then so that you have some idea of what the scope is, so that when you're deep into the chapter on or like the pages, 10 pages or 5 pages, whatever your size of it is going to be, of what surprise is, that you don't just forget why we're talking about surprise, but you're going, we're now going to look at 6 different families, and within those, these are different separate things, and and then you sort of
make it infographic. That I think I'm going to go infographic.
Oh yeah, great.
Because I'm not that great at writing.
No,
I just haven't done it, but
no, but just that the way of devising it, it's like first giving some idea of what the project is. And for you, it's the 12 ingredients of it, and then we will look at each of these ingredients, and then hopefully by the end, which we can go as deep into it or as shallow into it as the time permits, because you can go deep into each one of these, as we've seen, and divide them up and subdivide it and everything. And
that's right.
And then in the end, you're making
but everyone goes into them individually. Like, it's such an individual field as well, and so much detail and nuance. And then in the moment, you actually, that's the last thing you want to be thinking of, is kind of the irony of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're actually doing a show, and Oldie was telling me at the festival, he had a brilliant way of putting it. He said, he was telling it to people in his workshop, you have your pilot light on.
Yeah.
Which is like, the look behind your eyes and the smile that plays around the corner of your mouth when you're performing, that puts you in that playful state. And then you let all those things happen. Or you previously used them to create the structure of your show with a few points you have to hit, but there's still something that reacts to and it relates to the truth and reality egg, the second one, which should surround everything.
Yeah.
Everything has to be done in truth, reality, and honesty for it to be effective in the moment. Otherwise, you simply just don't take people with you.
Yeah.
On the journey.
That's right. It's I'm calling that a little bit authenticity. It's like you got to feel that this is a real moment. If this is an authentic moment, if this is something that you actually said, whilst if you just got out a piece of paper and read something, or you quickly Googled something and read it, it's not the same or whatever. Like it's something that is authentically you. Authenticity is a complex. All of these are complex things, but
they're all complex things. Yeah.
But it's I had some thought there before or what, but the pilot lighter, that's the thing. It's like it's but this is the nature of presenting material for an audience, anything, because the musical theory, understanding how music affects someone, understanding how notes connect together or whatever, and having perfect understanding of how to express through your fingers on the piano the emotion that you want to convey, is why we listen to Glenn Gould, or we listen to what do they call Scruggs and
Flat and Scruggs.
You know, that people that were going, well, they're famous because they managed to express something truthful through their music. It feels authentic, and everything. So I mean, that's I lost the thread there a little bit because I lost the name of them. But it's about music and about practice. And in the beginning, but you have to go through that, and you have to do your scales. So you have to do all that stuff until it no longer becomes about the skill, but it becomes about the telegraphing of emotion or of emotional truth. It's so that you can express something inner through an outer expression. You can dance so that it makes people weep, or you can jump so that it makes people laugh or whatever. Like, but it's now not anymore about look how he jumps and how he cleverly puts his foot like that to roll off so it looks bad, but he is actually okay. Like, so the technical skills got to go in, and there's the scope maybe in the beginning where it's really open, where you look for what the music is, and then at some point you got to actually practice that, and then you got to practice it and practice and practice it, and then at some point you got to go out again in front of the audience, and then it's just got to be in the moment. You can't think of technique or so. If you have to stop the song for it a little bit because you can't remember the chord, the song has actually disappeared or died there, kind of.
Yeah, you've just got to keep the rhythm in that situation, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to get around all, but
some weird way. And like rhythm and timing is another whole thing that is like
it's part of comedy, but it's not part of what you're looking at now. I mean, it is,
but it's so
isn't,
important. It's so important. We were talking today about and in the latest episode of your podcast, I think you talk about that period of getting the audience's attention.
Yes, and turning it into interest
and interests, and the different ways which you can do that, and using breath and bringing you both have to come to that midway place. But I also think of this sort of egg formation. I haven't ever thought about it as a whole show. It was actually purely just for what causes human beings to laugh. Essentially,
but
whatever you want to call that.
Such a lovely question, and I think to me it's like what you sometimes find missing in academic philosophy. Like it just gets a little bit, it gets too specialized or whatever. But for us, these are really important questions, and I was just writing something now because I'm in the summary part of it. It's like, this idea of looking at what an act is and what showmanship is, and understanding that guides me and allows me to help other people when they're creating their material, if I'm working with them or whatever. And I don't necessarily ever really talk about these things, but because I look at it and because I have spent a considerable amount of time working out this system, working within that system gives me this freedom to have something to say, something to offer, some ideas for improvement, because you can always just pick out either the thing that you think this was brilliant, or you go, and I immediately have like 4 or 5 categories that I immediately can look at it going like, this category is underdeveloped because the focus has been on physical skill, so the character is not. So immediately I can see what aspects it is, and I can see is like the way that I know that I connect that together with thinking, feeling, and actions. Of that I go, oh, okay, this has got no real emotional connection to me, or whatever. It's just based on an intellectual idea, but I don't care about it. It's like a lecture or whatever. So I can So I have these patterns, these little maps that I can plonk on top of anything, allows it to be completely interdisciplinary, and you can have something to say about anything, which I think is important if you are to help create and direct circus people. Like, if you're good at directing, you should have patterns and vocabulary that would allow you to work with acrobats and also with clowns, and potentially with all of those in the same show. And to have that, you need a language or like stuff where it's a language that connects for all of them. So we don't have to have specialized languages that don't compute or whatever. And this is what you're doing with comedy here now. Like, once you come inside one of these systems, the world does start to something very complicated. Something very complicated makes. And now we have someone working here now. The dog just involved the person. Come, Teddy, come. Yeah, it's good. Go to bed. Go to bed. He's been here all day, but he doesn't.
What's your dog's name? What's your dog's name?
Teddy.
Teddy.
Teddy, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Did Saskia name the dog?
No, actually, we got the dog from somebody who had bought the dog, and turned out they had a cat and they had a guinea pig and whatever. Bought a dog, and turned out that she was allergic to dogs, not to guinea pigs, not to fish, and not to cats.
Saskia is allergic to dogs.
No, whoever it was that bought him, and they named him Teddy. Then they put the dog up for sale because they couldn't have him because of this, and then we bought it off them. And so he came to us with the name Teddy.
Yeah.
So just going back out, like love and positivity being the sphere that all of the comedy should sort of live within, and then that's the biggest egg, and then the next egg inside, or the next circle in the bullseye, or whatever you want to call it, is then the truth and reality, honesty. What I might overlap somewhat with my concept of authenticity or whatever, how I think of that. But it's like, it's that you feel that whatever it is truthful or part of reality. So those things that you say are synonymous. Like, it's like truth / reality / honesty. It's that you feel that it is real. Like when the person goes, it's like, oh yes, I went to the store today. That he's not into this thing. It's not the a Swedish and Danish and a Norwegian person went into a bar. It's not that kind of structure or whatever. I guess we could get some mileage out of that too. But
it's also about being present in the moment.
Yeah, that's also a really, really good point.
You know what I mean? Like when you come out in front of an audience, and it's whether it's you take a breath with them or you ask them how they're going, or it's about just not coming out and doing your thing. It's about acknowledging them and the situation you're all in.
Yeah. We are here, you are here, I am here to do something, and I'm watching you now. Sometimes I find that just that moment first, even though it might only last 30 seconds or whatever, just coming out, acknowledging their situation. Oh man, it's been raining so much. Like, how did you guys wet from coming here now? It's like, oh wow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. People love that.
Yeah.
Like, we all do. We all love to be taking the time to ask how we actually are
Yeah, and also to just show that you appreciate their situation. If I'm doing like an event or whatever, and it helps to go, okay, so you guys have been out on a excursion to see a factory floor today, and like you just have three different points of thought that are going at you, going, oh man, or like if you've been there or if you've done something similar, then you go, it's like, oh, I haven't seen something like this since that time when I did this, but yeah, did you guys have a good time? Yeah. And now they're not saying, did you have a good time, just general. It's like, like you have all this implied stuff of that. I know what they have done. I haven't given them much detail, and maybe I don't have a very strong understanding of what it is that they've done, but I do. But that's sort of implied a little bit that I understand them. And now we're here, and it's finally everyone got their beer. I heard that you guys were going to get one free beer or whatever. Like it's something like that. Yeah. And then you go,
it's making friends. Making friends with
just a little bit of I'm with you guys. Okay, now, all right. I guess I better start now. I have some cool stuff I want to show you. Have a look at all this.
Yeah,
and then we're in. Yeah. Then you're appreciating the situation, but because they're sitting facing you, it's like, I do have stuff to show, and here it is, and this will be fun. You're making this good transition into it. It's almost like, that's why when I looked at this, when you first sent it to me now, and I thought like, have you gone even wider? But it is because that's like you're starting with a love and positivity in the big circle. Inside there's the circle of truth and reality, and then inside there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different eggs nested. They're sort of on top of each other, like kind of Venn diagrams of connecting up. And I'm sure
because they all connect up. That's just to signify that everything. They all overlap.
Yeah, because basically,
or they can be used in various different combinations.
Yeah. So love and positivity would count even if you were just not doing jokes, but you would do juggling as well. And truth and reality, it's somehow that, like if you're just doing physical skill, then it is always real. So that has its own kind of truth to
That's
it.
right.
But then the center ones is...
you should experience that in the moment.
Yeah.
If you're doing those skills, very much like we see in Australian, and I've had a few conversations about this today, the sort of Australian style of acrobatics or physical theatre from circa is very much like about performers experiencing that performance space very honestly and showing the audience when they're tired or happy that they got the trick or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
How does what Circa started back in the day with all those explorations that maybe ended up there, but it's like even one man in a room juggling when Davy Samford did the juggling stuff, it's all part of that exploration. Like, do you think, because I don't know that for sure, but is that kind of the influence also of gravity and other myths and that's that a continuation of that style? Or?
Yeah, I think it is in a way for sure. Like they've had a huge. Euron has had a huge influence in the way that he has taught people. I've chatted to a few people, but everyone does it individually. That's the beautiful thing, really, is that people can't help to be individuals. Like when they're working under him or in Circa, they will certainly be pawns in his sort of creation. But when they tend to go out on their own thing, there is a certain amount of individuality that occurs throughout all the shows. But I was also talking to Jesse and Lockie today from Cassis.
Oh, yeah.
Cassis.
Cassis, yeah.
Cassis. And he was like, oh, yeah, I think we're ready for something new. Like we've seen a lot of the same now. Like it's almost become the norm, that style.
Yeah.
Because they've been around for so long, and there's no such thing as the last great idea. Something.
Yeah. But isn't that it's like that is a great time to be in, because that's when who knows, all of a sudden Trent Bowman comes back in with the being the inspiration or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. But it's like, because And there was a time when maybe Circus Oz and Circus Monoxide and that flavor was where it was at. That larrikin, not taking themselves too seriously, where clowns and laughs were really central, and poking fun at like having deliberate political messages or deliberate environmental or just human messages, to have that in their shows, as well as just good times and good music. And that we have now pivoted into something where those two examples of Monoxide and Circus Oz are not the pinnacle of Australian export or of what's most excited with that. But in this new shows, with just, I guess, maybe Company 2 even falls slightly in under that thing, even if they're also in their own unique expression. It's just like, of course, with Expressionism or Impressionism, there are, each of the artists is doing their own thing, yet in hindsight we can see that they're related. They're somehow in a dialogue with each other because they've seen each other's work, and they're not copying each other, but they're going, well, we're not...
That's the beauty of tradition.
Yeah. And this is sort of arisen up from
actually
that.
Starting to create its own tradition.
Yeah. And now you have this possibility again of, you can go, okay, well, we can take this new acrobatic physical theater style, and you can put that into another kind of context, or it could become part of something else, or you react against it and you do the go, in the way that traditional circus has this often where it's much more stylized what happens, and you don't show the sweat and you don't do whatever. I think hopefully that will happen. And I mean, it happens naturally if you create festivals and collaborations. And like today I was talking about Jesse and Lockie from Cassis. I was saying, it'd be great to get you guys to look at a couple of our family acrobatic acts. Yeah.
And just get them to go, why don't you try this, and this, or whatever. And to get that cross-pollination, I mean, that's
so good. It's
pretty much what you want. Like, you want that community. The beauty of the community is what we all want to live in. I think in our lives. And then to get the beauty of the community to support your creativity.
Yeah.
Is even better.
Yeah, I find that super interesting. And then it's like, I like this concept of distributed cognition, that individually we don't know so much. I don't know so many things of that. I became parent in the pandemic, how difficult it is to actually feed yourself, where you see somebody spending like $2,000 and 400 hours for 2 cups of blueberries and 6 pumpkins and enough salad for a side dish for 3 things, and you go, this wouldn't feed anyone, for not even themselves, apart from enough for some pictures on social media to show what you did. But in the same way, it's like to have these people that have had the opportunities that Gravity and other myths and Cassis and all that, who just have spent so much time on that physical stuff. And I had it here in another context of, I was working with Jay Gilligan, and he was here, and I was asking for some questions of something, and he just looked at something and of a hat juggling thing that I'm doing for family shows. So it's not like I'm striving for the pinnacle of physical skill, but just his advice for someone who has just 25 years of object manipulation and deep research into that sort of stuff, like how fast it goes and how his ideas come into these realms that I don't normally think about or whatever. It's so nice. And he goes, as I don't know, because I don't juggle hats, but his understanding of object manipulation, of what the possibilities are, is just so interesting. And that's that distributed cognition. It's distributed throughout the community, and we all have these different practices that we do. And this, like, they have the physical practice of practicing physical skills, whether it is juggling or acrobatics, and then there are kind of more like things you need to feel good about yourself as a person. It's like you need many things. You also need something intellectual, and that's one of the aspects where I remember when I went to the circus festivals in the sort of like first festival I went to, I guess, was in 2000, Circus Festival in Tasmania, and met Reg Bolton, and he was that person who did social circus and did acts and stuff and was such a genuine and authentic person, but that was really, I mean, he became a doctor in circus, but he was like, it was such an interesting person to talk to because he thinks intellectually about this or whatever, and that's an aspect of it that would be part of an ecology of practices. It's like within our community we need to have all these things, and everyone should dabble in all of them to some extent, so that you, because if you're too narrow, if you only do acrobatics, the day that you twist both of your ankles like Flanagan did that time. And all of a sudden, well, we see it again and again, how acrobats or people who make dances, and you hurt yourself and you're out for 6 months or whatever, depression becomes such a real threat, or like it's like you identify with what you do, and then when you can't do that, you completely fall apart. So we always have to have more points of reference and more points of engaging with what it is that we do to make yourself more robust in
that's such a good one, Frodo. Like the amount of conversations I had at this festival with people about social anxiety within the circus festival experience. Like everyone, like you don't really, it's that common sort of misconception that everyone else is normal and you're abnormal, when in really it's the opposite. Everyone's actually abnormal, and in a performing community, the social anxiety stuff, especially at a festival where everyone just wants to do a good show and be told by that all our good friends, like someone you're really close to, you don't really care because you know that they know when you've had a bad show. But there's a vast amount of people in the community that you only know like halfway, and they're all the ones you really want to impress.
You want to show your best side.
That's why even though like it should be the only safe space for circus performers, but I do feel like sometimes creativity is slightly repressed by the fact that we all just want to do our very best.
But that's almost like when you start to view what you do as some sort of audition or some sort of competition, then you have, in a sense, lost. Because unless you are doing a version of somebody else's act or whatever, or you feel like your expression or so is not different enough that all you have to go on is the exact same thing that someone else is being judged by, then that's what I always think about circus, even though in reality it's not quite true. But it's like we don't have direct competition in that way, because we aren't like when we're doing gymnastics where you do that trick and that can get you 6.9, but it can be 4. Like you're not getting judged on that level, because it's much more about performance. And speaking to some Ukrainians that I was working with now in the summer, and they go, we were in sports acrobatics, and our trainer at the time, he said, because they were like, oh, well, what are we going to do? We're like, because he said, oh, by the time you're, I can't remember, something stupid, very young, like by the time you're 25, you're not really going to go to the Olympics or whatever. And then and that's the end of your career. And he goes like, oh, but that's terrible or whatever. And he goes, but you can go into circus, and then it's not so hard. And that's where so much of it is. It becomes, so the guy has got then, what would you want to call it, in a sport where you get judged also by your body shape and all that sort of stuff. Like he's a large guy, super strong and all that, but then that you go into circus, and the fact that this guy, who is a very large guy, can do all these like flips and stuff, just blows you away, even though maybe his form and that is not what you would expect to see in a competition of gymnastics. The fact this now works to his benefit in this other domain, other like in circus. And that's where we hope we're not 100%. In competition to each other. We're not really in competition, but still you want to be your best and you want to be the best, I guess, if that's possible. And we will always find a way to kind of be in that competition, and that can be healthy but also very unhealthy. Like it can sometimes it pushes you to extend yourself, and I've had that experience at the circus festival in the Bebop Blue Bar on that stage when I was jamming both with Mr. Spin in one year and another year where I was doing it with Trent, where you just go, you're deliberately doing stuff that other performers will know, like by me suggesting something and then Trent saying no, and then me offering up next improv thing and then him saying no, and now there's a whole nother game going on. You're not allowed to say no all the time, but now everybody knows that he's putting me on the spot, and when will he say yes, and how clever will I be at trying to... So you're playing these levels where they all go, it's always yes and, it's not no and nothing else, and then you get the laugh, and it's a cheap laugh, but then and so you feel like you're playing with aspects of performance that you can't normally do, but that was only at that stage at that time. When then the festival started again and I was going to come on stage and do stuff with the Happy Sideshow or whatever, then we needed to kill in the format that we're supposed to kill, kind of on stage in front of an audience doing that, and you're not but then those moments are, I think back at those, where the things that happened on those renegade stages or whatever, open stages, that are some of my strongest memories. And that's where you really, like, people would go, are you out there really doing it now, or are you just delivering something that you have pre-prepared, which I think is an interesting sort of thing.
I think that's just a wonderful sense of playfulness, essentially. Because you're starting to play with the genre itself, and
All right, let's leave it there for this week. I haven't got the capacity to dole this out in big lumps and have it all coming out, so unless somebody out there decides to spend big bucks and buy me 500 cups of coffee or whatever, so that I can take some time out to record a bunch more conversations. But that said, I have some very, very exciting conversations coming up. I'm going to have some conversations with some magicians. Amongst them, the one magician who actually is the magician who has performed the longest run in Vegas history in the same hotel. I believe that is a claim to fame as well, with FISM winner, as in the World Championship of Magic, and another exciting performer that has just released a book and a masterclass. So I'm very excited and still on the download. That's why I'm saying it here in the end, where nobody really listens, because they think that all I'm going to do is to say, well, if you did like this, please help me. I can't do this on my own. All I can barely do is to make these episodes happen every week. I don't know quite how to get more people to listen. Slowly, more and more people are finding it through a very organic process, which is very excellent. But perhaps somebody out there with more followers than me could say, hey, look at this, or listen to this. You too could follow the way. Be one of the chosen ones who has this exquisite conversation and monologues delivered straight into their ears via the internet. Anyway, it's been a pleasure walking along this leg of the journey with you, and until next time, take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you along the way.